Righto, I'm back. And I'm going to put the SL1 lister back together, which I pulled the pieces on the last video, and then I didn't know whether I was going to be able to recover it or not. So, because the crankshaft was really badly scratched up. So we've managed to send it into a bloke, and he's fixed it up, and she's good again. So we're going to be able to put this engine back together. And I've got a pile of parts here to put all this back together, gaskets and bits and pieces we need, seals, bearings. So I'm going to have a go at putting it back together. I'm going to paint up a few things first to make it look tidy. And I'm just going to wash some of the oil off in here. It's all pretty dirty. I'll clean that off. Then I'm going to put it in the sandblaster, the bits I can there, and just blast all the loose paint off. And then I'll give it a wire buff and a bit of a sand, and to all the bits that have got to be painted, and including that, which will be a bit of a job. So I'm going to move on with it. Just these dirty bits in here. Get all this grease and etc. off. I'm using a bit of a standard cleaning fluid called petrol. Then after that, I'll come over here and I'll give all these bits a sand, wire brush where needed, and that's how I'll do that. Let's give it a go. That's as fussy as I'm going to get. Okay, righto, I've been sanding and doing a little bit of undercoat for some of these bits that have got to go on this engine, because I'm going to paint it up and make it look good. And there's another one. That's the flywheel, the fan, and the fan cowl. This thing here, block here, which is that's the piston goes up that way. Somebody asked me about how do you get the oil pump out. Well, this fella here, he comes out the bottom here. This is the bottom of the engine, and with that circlip undone, that circlip there undone, you can push it down, and that will come out, slide right out the bottom, slide right out there. You can see a bit of it up there, and that ball down in there, doesn't have a spring behind it, whereas this one does. So I'll get him out. That's how the engine normally sits. And there he is down there. He just comes out the bottom there. Righto, the next job of this thing is probably, I've got to put some new bearings in here. So before I clean it up, we'll try and do that. We have bearings. Don't drop them. That looks like one we're looking for. Now it seems like these bearings are going to have to go down a bit to get them out. I've decided I'm going to make a bit of a drift to push them bearing shells out of so it'll be helpful for putting them back in too, I suspect. So I've got to get the right size here, so it will just measure up this one, which is the other end of the main bearing. It'll be around the 60.8. Yeah, so the inside of the these is going to have to be around about this size. So if I make it 56.9-ish, and then that should fit down in there. So that's what we'll do. Bits going everywhere. Give it a bit of something to start with. Righto, that's the final product. That's crankshaft size. That fits in the bearing. There it is, nice and shiny, pure gold. No, it's not. That fits in the bearing size. That'll fit there and that should fit through. So I don't know, let's give it a go. Maybe I'll just take it down and machine that bit off as well, down to that size. That's what I'll do and I'll come back. Right, back. There they are. You should always get the numbers on the same side. You've got that thing there to stop it from spinning, stop the bearing from spinning, and then the numbers that way. This is the other end. This is the flywheel side. And I'm going to put this, and here's this. I've had a bit of a clean up here. I'll fit that in there. It fits in there. I'll put a clamp around there to hold them together because I reckon they'll just split apart. That's my latest plan. Tighten that up. That'll tighten it nice and tight. And I'm going to attempt to just push that down. I'll just take that off and get it out of the road. That'll do for a bit. See how that goes. What can we see there? It all looks pretty good. Didn't quite get that totally lined up. That's hard to get right, but it's just below there and it's below there too. So I think that's going to be pretty good. Suppose I'll see if the crankshaft will fit in it. This is the bit I don't look forward to. Is it going to fit? Righto. When you got it perfectly lined up, it goes straight on there. Righto, I've got to place this in the press here and try and do it this time. Get that down in there. Ready to push the next lot of bearings in. Now the hardest bit seems to be getting that groove to line up with that groove down there. Righto. Put the clamp around the two bearing shells, slip that on there. That's not gold, that's brass. I've got to try and line this up. That's going good. I hope I've got it lined up as good as I can get it. Righto, that looks to be down the right amount. Pull that out. Looks like I've got that pretty lined up. Try and fit the crankshaft in here now. Crankshaft. Ho ho ho. She goes in, but that's a pretty good fit. Yeah, so what I'm doing is just wire brushing off. Wire brush all these surfaces off so as I can get a good seal on the gaskets. Got to paint it too. I'll give all these bits a go. Get rid of all the loose paint. This side's not so critical because it's behind the air cowl, so you won't see it. This side you will see. Righto, I'm going to give this a blast off, a blow off, and I'm going to put some paint on it. Righto, just whacking a bit of paint on it. I'll just get it I'll just get a thin as rag here in a minute and wipe off all the gasket surfaces. That's got a bit of thinners on it. Just wipe off all the paint. There we have it, I reckon. Here's what I've painted. The main cowl, the main block, and the fan and the head and all the bits here. There's other stuff over here. There's the fuel tank. A few more things here. Righto, time to put this engine back together. And there's the block. And the oil pump is the first to go in. So that's it there, and I've got to show, I'll stick it in there. First thing you got to do, stick this bit in, up underneath here. The spring's got to go in, the washer's got to go on, and the circlip's got to go. And this goes in here and screws it in there. I had to change that O-ring and then screw him back in. This one here is the one that works on the can. Go up there, put him in there, always put a bit of oil in there. I could put a bit more in there. You have to push that down when you put the cam in. Now down in there is where this screen's got to go. So it's got to go into that little spot up there, push it in, and it just sits in there like that. Pretty coarse looking screen. Some grease on the, these are the thrust washers. Sit the thrust washers up in there, they sit in the groove. I've got thrust washers in there, getting ready to put the crankshaft in. Now I've got the original spacers to get the, make sure we've got the right amount of end float. There's the crankshaft, lots of oil on there, and we'll slide it in. Righto, that's up against the washers. That little hole's got to go to the bottom. Now I've just got to do this up, put some bolts in it, and check the end float. That's what I can fit up in there, fit in the end float. So if I shove that down there, that's what I get. It's good. That turns beautifully. Look at Righto, my battery went flat. I put the keyway in there, I put the cog on the barbecue and warmed it up, and it slipped straight on there. So it's tight on there now. Now we're ready for the governor. Plenty of oil in here, because this little shaft here goes in and out. Righto, that's fitted. The next bit, I've got to put these cam followers up in here. They go up in there, and this one goes this side. The injector pump follower goes in there. He fits in that little groove, and he pushes the injector pump. Right, I'm putting the cam in, hopefully. I've still got to go down more yet. Turns out, doesn't go down far enough until you undo this a bit. I think that'll just about get it. Here's the cam. Much better. Come on. No, we've got to get the timing marks right now. There we have it, timing marks are right. Right, the next bit I'm going to put in is this. I've blown it all out, goes in there. This one here goes to there. This one here goes to here. This is the relief valve. We'll screw him up, and that's what holds those two together. That holds them in. This piece here has to hold the governor rod, and he's got to be a little bit careful with him because he's got in a particular spot where he wants to go. The arm is on here. This is the governor arm. She'll push on there. Righto, the next piece to go on, and we'll get some bolts for him. Righto, the next process is the injector pump. I've had it to pieces and inspected it. It seems to be fine. You have to make sure you get these washers on here. This little cap, he's got to go on top of there. Sit those 4 washers in there and just sit this thing in there, like that. And this in here like this. Righto, the injector pump's fitted. This is the inlet for the fuel. The outlet's up there. Oil pressure line to the top up there, and it fits in here like this. I've cleaned it all out, blown it out, and it fits in here like this. And that one there goes in there. Right, I've got these done up here now. Ring set. Looks like we've got instructions. There they are. Rings. Getting these rings to go on here. It actually says don't do it like this. Oil control ring, oil control ring. Now we've got the big one, which goes to the top. there, and these other two lesser ones. Do they say top? There it is, top standard on these rings. Righto, there it is. Heaps of oil. I've clocked the rings. The grooves are in different places. Good bit of oil all around in here. Oil everywhere now. Here it goes, right or wrong. Gentle touch it down there, and it looks like it's in there now. The next job now would be to put some bearings in here. These are 10 below. Bit of good oil, and a bit in this one. Camshaft side of the piston, so that means it's got to go that way. I've got the two gaskets in there, those copper gaskets. Gonna make sure this crankshaft's nice and clean and polished. Seems to be going in. I'm just gonna get a nut on there while I can. Okay, I've got them in there, turns freely. Now I've got to work out the shims and the gasket that goes on top of there. So I'm going to measure the old ones, see what it said, and that might be close to what we're going to go with. There's the old rings, there's the new rings. I've got these wind deflectors, air cowling deflectors on there. Turns out there's two flat sides on the barrel here. Somehow or another I got it right for a change. Now it's time for the cylinder head. I've put the same amount of rings on there as what came off it, so we'll have to see how that all goes. Put a bit of tension on the big end, the big ends here. 15 foot-pound. I'm tensioning the head down now, so I don't know whether I'll have to take it off again, but righto, we're back to, I've had to check the adjustment on that. Got that all hooked up, the arm. We need a bit of oil on here. Right, I've got that set up. New seal in. Okay, it says here, the shims under the head should be 0.3 or 7.6 and 8.4. And here we are. I got it to 8.4. But there's no shims under there, it's just the head gasket. So the cylinder head is has the right gauge of height now. I'll start putting the rest of it back together. Righto, push rods are going in down here on the cam followers. Screw that in there like that. Right, now we need to go and find the injector. We've got to do him up tight. I've got it tight. Righto, take that out of there, put it in here. This one here, put him down in there. The spring, cap and wash it when you're finished. We'll go over to the pressure tester. There it is, 16 atmospheres. Get the injector, I've put some Never-Sees on there, and we have the aluminium piece there and a gasket on the bottom. So the injector's right to go in there now. This one, which goes in here, which is the leak off, then this one's got to go on. Then I can put this on. Oh, the two nuts on here. Let's go with 15 right there. The next piece to go on is this pipe. This is one that's got to go on too. Nearly forgot about him. Right, I'll put the tappet cover on just to cover up the dust. Now I'm going to put the air cowling on. And then there's these have to go under here to space it. This type to go in here. The fan has to go, that one there goes there. So I think it's these bolts, looks good. Righto, this has got to go on there. And I think this is a three-man job, and I'm going to try and do it myself. I'll run it on here with this bolt. It just needs a little tap on there. I declare that good enough. Righto, that's the lock washer folded over. Put this cowling on here, and that's the air intake, that's the exhaust pipe. We've got a new one for there. And there it is, a new muffler and a new air cleaner. I may not leave him on there, I'll put him on a bit later. I've cleaned up the generator part of it, and I'm going to put some paint on it so it'll look good when I put it together. And this is the frame where the engine sat, right there. I've got the frame painted and the engine's painted. It's got to go that way. And I'm going to let it down onto the frame here. I thought I'd put a new fuel filter in. That's how the old one is. Yep, just as well we did that, I think. Not looking real good in there. Righto, here's the fuel filter. I've put a new gasket around there, a new gasket there, and then the old filter went on there, but what was holding it up there? There was nothing. So I'm putting a spring, a washer, and then another O-ring to sit on that hole. Then put it together. And I've got the spring holds it there. Righto, I've replaced the handle. There's the old one. She was not too good, so I've replaced it with a aluminium. Righto, the engine's coming together. I don't have a starter motor for it, so I'm going to have to make up a plate there, and I've got to go around this side, and I'm going to have to make a plate here too and fill in this gap. Otherwise the air is not going to be going through the system here and coming out here and doing air cooling properly. So yeah, I'm going to have to do that. There, I've got the starter motor cover on, and there's the other side starter motor cover. Righto, the next bit, hook that leak off pipe back into the tank. I've got some straps on here, and this is what they came with, and I've put some heat shrink over them, done up pretty tight, and it's solid. I've got the right fitting for there, and I'll run that around onto there. So I've got to put fuel in the tank. It'll go through the filter, back up here, through this one here, and then I'll bleed it on that one. Here comes some diesel. Now we'll find out the leaks. Righto, fuel comes out of the tank, along here, into this one. That goes to the outside of the filter. Whoops, pouring out. Making a mess. Now it's got to go through the filter to get to that one. Oops, and there's air bubbles coming out. Righto, I've got this one nice and loose here now. Oop, something's coming out. We have fuel coming out there now. I'm going to put this back on here now. Righto, I've got the crane on here in case it falls off the ladder, off the stools. I've got fuel in it. I'm going to start winding it and see what we can expect to hear. At some stage, I'm going to hear an injector doing a squirt. Righto, see if I can get a noise this time. Heard it a little bit there. Haven't had a lot of fun getting this going. So we're going to have to go to the different method. Righto, that's a very unstandard way of starting something, but there it is, up and running. I haven't got anything connected in there. There it is, the SL1 listener from 1965. She's up and running. And don't forget to subscribe, and until next time.